Hello, everyone. Today, I think most of the people here know what the MILIEU project is, and I'm going to say it shortly. It's a project of the call for the widespread call of the European Commission, and it transfers knowledge and practices from colleagues in Genova in Italy and Madrid in Spain. Very often we invite guests, like we have Veronika today. And thank you, Veronika, for joining us and for being able to introduce this topic. We've been talking about such a short seminar for a long time. And in fact, this is actually the last seminar from the project in English. So you're going to kind of like close up the whole thing. The project is over. It has been 3 years, so you can check up the webpage if you're interested in something. And I would like now to introduce Veronika. I know Veronika for quite a long time, and we work perfectly together, and I'm very happy for that. So Veronika works at the Slovak Academy of Sciences and at the Institute of Philosophy and Sociology, the same institute where the MILIEU project is taking place in Bulgaria. And Veronika is pretty much interested in gender, sexuality, social movement, social policies, and actually her PhD is on social policies regarding gender-based violence in Slovakia. And last thing, Veronika is quite better than me at qualitative software. So the floor is yours now.
Thank you so much, Shaban. I will share my presentation. I will start off with a PowerPoint presentation, and then I will switch to the actual software to show you what I will be talking about. As Shaban already said, this is an introductory course. So what I would like to do today with you is to just show you really the basics. The basics that I use, I've been working with various softwares, various options of qualitative analysis. I've been around academia for a while now. As Shaban said, currently my focus is on social movements, but I also am placed at the Faculty of Education where I work at the Department of Civics and Ethics Education. So this is the place where I look at questions of gender and sexuality in a variety of environments. And actually today I will be showing you how MaxQDA works on a project that I've been working on since 2021. And it's a project dedicated to LGBTIQ activism in corporations, in companies. And this is because it's actually the only MaxQDA project that I currently have where I have the functions, which I actually coded in English, even though not all the data, only 2 interviews that I have there are English. I devised the coding structure in English. So I wanted to show you what I have with a project that would be legible to you. But the data is still, majority of the data is still in Slovak. So just a brief disclaimer before we get into this. And I will be showing you some of the options that we have in MaxQDA with regards to data visualization. There's lots of other functions. There's lots of other options. I would say that I'm still learning. I mean, I've had MaxQDA for a while now, but each project I'm learning what the options are. And I will tell you a bit about why I chose MaxQDA to work with it. What are, to me, the benefits. And I'm also happy for you to ask questions. It's very likely that I will answer your question with I don't know or probably, but that is because I'm also still learning, and there's a lot of options for you to learn about MaxQDA. It's one of the reasons why I also chose to work in this software, that it's very accessible to researchers. So let's start with a very brief introduction on what tools we actually have for qualitative analysis. And Over the past 10 years almost that I've been in academia, I've used a number of tools to do qualitative analysis. I am primarily a qualitative researcher, although I have worked with statistics and quantitative data before. I would say that qualitative analysis is very close to me, close to heart, because I do like to work on case studies and work with ethnographic methods. So that's why qualitative analysis is just my thing. And here you see the tools that I've used over the years. When I did my master's thesis, I worked with the first method that you see on the left, and that is simply highlighting, printing all the data, choosing colors and highlighting. I would say that this is a very old school method, but that's brought a lot of good research and good studies to many researchers. It is certainly one of the options. It's the option I offer my students for their bachelor's and diploma thesis. But certainly it has its limits, of course, because there's only a very limited analysis that you can actually do. Most of the analysis has to happen in your head. You do not have a software, you do not have a computer that would actually help you with this, which actually makes it a pretty honest research method to me. But the reason why we oftentimes choose to work as researchers with qualitative software is because we simply want more. We want the computer to help us with the data structuring and data visualization. And that's why I chose to show you what visualizations can be done with MaxQDA. When I started doing my doctoral research, I actually started working with Atlas TI. And that is simply because it was recommended to me. I no longer remember who recommended it. It was someone I knew very closely who was also working in Atlas TI. And at that point, they had very good pricing for students. So that's why I chose Atlas TI at that point. But as I was growing professionally, I did my doctoral thesis, the whole thing in Atlas TI. But after that, I realized that some of the options, some of the functions, and the interface in Atlas no longer works for me. I was thinking that there must be something else, something that would maybe have other options, would be more creative and more user friendly. And as I was looking into what other researchers are using, I stumbled across in vivo. And the interesting thing is that at that point, I was looking to educate myself first on how in vivo works. So I enrolled in a very expensive summer school where for a week, a researcher was explaining to us how in vivo works. But what essentially, and I did learn many useful things about coding in vivo. But what essentially happened after that was that I was looking into the pricing of in vivo. It was quite pricey at that point. And another thing was that I was looking into other options of learning about in vivo. And I realized that what unfortunately in vivo do is that they tend to limit how much methodology they are willing to be out there, just freely floating. And this to me was rather problematic. And when I was complaining and when I showed a colleague of mine how in vivo works, because I had a couple of days free version, a colleague of mine said, oh, why don't you use MaxQDA? I've been using MaxQDA and it looks more user friendly to me. Because just before starting the seminar, we agreed with Shaban that in vivo looks very complicated. Even if you look at the interface, it just looks like a spaceship panel. And that to people like me, for example, can be highly problematic because I was not born with the skills of someone who is very tech savvy. So I'm usually looking for something that is very intuitive, something that I don't have to have, an MSc or other engineering degree in. So I started looking into MaxQDA, and currently I'm sticking with this also because of the pricing options. We can look into this at the end. I don't want to bother you with what are the pricing options, but I can also tell you a bit about what is the best pricing option to choose, because I've had multiple and some are not so so good for us as researchers, as individuals. So we can look into that as well if you're interested at the end. So what to just before we get into this, there's also things to consider. If you're currently at the stage where you are wondering what sort of data analysis tools you should be getting, I think there's multiple questions to consider before you pick the tool. You can, of course, for Atlas TI, In Vivo, and MaxQDA, you have also the options of having a trial version for a couple of days. I think that for MaxQDA, it's 14 days. I'm not sure how many days it is now for In Vivo or Atlas TI. At some point, Atlas TI had even a month trial version, but I'm not sure if
Veronika,
yes,
can I ask
please.
you something? I'm sorry for interrupting.
Please.
Have you changed slides? Because it looks like we're still on the first one.
You haven't seen this one?
No.
I'm so sorry. Now when I choose, now you can see that
I
I'm
can
changing
see
stuff.
everything. If someone else has a problem.
Yes, you see, this is it. We were talking about this just before.
Yeah, you have
how
so
it's not
much
going to
to
work.
tell us. I know. Then you forgot the slides. It's fine. It's fine. You can. I'm sorry. Keep on.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. Anytime you feel something is off, please intervene. I'm happy for that. Oh, I'm also. Do you want to? Have we been recording? Do you want to record?
It is recorded.
It is recording. Okay, good.
It's
Just
recorded.
wanted to check that. Okay, so going back to the questions of what you should be considering when you're just getting into this, when you're wondering what software you should be getting. First of all, it's a major question of the availability of tools. What are my options? What I need to do. So for example, if I want to do mixed methods, if I want to do qualitative along with quantitative analysis, MaxQDA has this option. I've been just learning about how to do this, but in MaxQDA you can actually do variables and compare variables and do mixed methods, meaning qualitative and quantitative analysis at the same time. So this is important also to decide also in terms of pricing, because there's, for example, in MaxQDA, there's different pricing if you want to do statistical analysis as well in the software. Another option, another question, can this software carry all my data? Most of these softwares are pretty good with carrying a lot of the data. Please have a look if you have specific type of data. If you have videos, you may want to check, look around, ask around if people who are doing video analysis, if they prefer certain type of tool. What I usually do is I work with texts. I've worked with, I'm going to get there, actually, that's another slide, but for me, since I work primarily with texts and images, MaxQDA is just perfect. Third question, user-friendly interface. As I said, I'm not definitely a rocket scientist. What I need my software to be is just very visually friendly. And when it comes to its different buttons, it really needs to be intuitive. And this is something that I didn't have with In Vivo, but I have that with MaxQDA. Second, guidance. This is super important because as you will be learning about all those different options, different buttons, different tools, you need to have access to all this knowledge, how to do these things. I mean, you do not have a MaxQDA expert on the phone all the time. And one of the things that I actually really, really appreciate about MaxQDA is that they have available videos. I'm going to get to that. In Vivo, for example, has a couple of trained persons. So you can, there's the amount of videos, for example, that they have is quite limited compared to Atlas TI and compared to MaxQDA. And lastly, pricing. Since as we were talking with Shaban before starting, in this economy, nothing is really free. It's very important to consider what are your financial options. Most of these softwares, they have options for students as well, and they have limited versions depending on what sort of tools you need and specifically for how long you need to have access to the software. So this is very important to consider. This, for example, is a screenshot of YouTube. The MaxQDA official channel on YouTube looks like this. It's my primary tool to use when I'm looking for a type of analysis, or I am looking into how to do specific things, and I want to be sure that I'm doing it correctly. The MaxQDA official channel has got numerous videos in English, and they oftentimes do videos in other languages. So you can find videos in German, for example, in Spanish, in Portuguese, and French. There's a lot of different language versions, and these are completely for free, so you can look it up and find out how other people have been using these options. So yes, and one of my primary reasons for working in MaxQDA is that I can just hop on YouTube and have a look how to do things. So what types of data can you be using in qualitative analysis? I have 3 types of data here. So first, you see an article from a journal. You can have just any type of text can be coded in MaxQDA. You can also have interview transcripts. What you have here is an interview transcript on the left. You can work with that. It doesn't matter if you have it in PDF or in Word, it will take all the stuff. Then you have images, of course, can be coded in MaxQDA, and videos as well. What I primarily code are interviews, articles, images, but I've already coded Facebook comments in an Excel sheet. You can do that as well. And MaxQDA also has options for coding Twitter tweets. Oh, sorry, it's no longer called Twitter. Tweets on X. I'm not sure what is the vocab anymore. But there is an option there in MaxQDA as well, and you can always look up a video on how to code Twitter data, for example. So that is super helpful. So this is the type of data you can code in MaxQDA. These are some analytical approaches I've been using when coding in MaxQDA. So you have examples of the kinds of approaches I've been using. So I've been using frame analysis or issue frame analysis. You can see examples of studies here that actually work with this type of analysis. So also simple content analysis for pedagogy, that as well. Simple thematic analysis. What we have here, actually, this YouTube link in simple thematic analysis, you can actually look up a video by MaxQDA on how to do thematic analysis in MaxQDA, which is awesome because they will show you all the tools that can be useful for your analysis and for your visualization if you do thematic analysis. So and I think that this is super user friendly to just give you the guidance, just like this is how you can do it, and you pick what is useful to you. Or reflexive thematic analysis I've done as well. And the thing is that none of these softwares, even if you speak of InVivo or Atlas TI, they will not do the thinking for you. That is rather unfortunate. But that's the deal with us researchers. You have to do the thinking yourself, but you will have multiple options and guidance on helping you. The computer will simply assist you. You will come to the data with a specific perspective. Okay, I want to do frame analysis, how to do it. And MaxQDA will show you how you can visualize, how you can analyze, and how you can visualize your data based on the type of analysis. So what usually happens to me is that I have a specific approach, I have specific data, and then I'm thinking, oh, well, I know that there's this option to do in MaxQDA. Maybe I can use it to show specific relations, or maybe I can use it to show specific trends. This takes time, but you can look up different YouTube videos, and they will show you how they've done different types of analysis with this. I hope this makes sense so far. Maybe I would stop here to ask you whether you have any questions at this point. If there is anything you want to ask, you can just simply ask out or write that into the chat. Okay.
Anyone? Yeah, you can also use the chat, and then I'm going to read the questions, so you don't have to look for that, Veronika.
Okay. Oh,
But looks like everything is clear.
Okay, that's perfect. Maybe it will not be clear in the process. We'll find out. Okay, so these are the topics that I want to cover with you today. I think we can do this perfectly in half an hour. And then if you have any more questions, we'll delve into them. So I'll start with simply the basics, how to code and how to do memos. So I'm going to stop sharing this presentation and I will go to my MaxQDA project. So don't freak out. This is how it looks when you have an actual project and it's all coded at this point. So as I've said before, this is a project about LGBTIQ activism in companies. And oftentimes this activism happens in what we call employee resource groups, ERGs. So you will probably see this, this abbreviation, as you see here, ERG, quite a lot. So that's what it means, employee resource groups. What we have here is actually an open window segmented into 4 segments. This is segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, segment 4. And you can actually change this window layout here. If you click home up here, and if you click window layout, it will open a couple of options for you. But this is how I prefer to work. This is the layout I really enjoy. This is what works for me. And you can also switch this into a black screen. So if I clicked this button down here, it will all turn black and the words will be white. So if you prefer this kind of night vision, you can do that as well. What do we have here on the upper left side here is the document system. So here you can see my documents. Here, bottom left, you can see my code system. These are my codes. Up here, on the right side, here you can see a whole document. Currently, I have clicked on a document, which actually is here. It's in the NGO segment, which I called Initiative. So you can see the document here. And here, this is the window for the 3 segments. So if I clicked on specific codes, the segments that I have coded, the pieces of the document that I have coded will show up right here. So just so you know, this is the layout. This is generally how it works best for me. And you can tell that I've already coded some. What I have here are 22 documents with almost 1,400 codes. So because I've been working on this since 2021, so there has been some work done. If you are starting, if you have a clean slate, if we, for example, clicked here on the new project, everything would open up, but there would be simply nothing. So what you have to do is you have to start with importing documents. And you can see that there's multiple options. You can even create your own document and type away. But generally what I usually do is I either import here transcripts or I import focus group transcripts. We will not be importing focus group transcripts today, but keep in mind that this is rather a useful function in MaxQDA because what it does is that if you import a document as a transcript of focus group, and the document detects that there are names and double dots, it will immediately be ready to code your document based on who is speaking. So if it will see, for example, that there is RS, it will code this segment as RS. It will immediately create a coding structure based on who is speaking. And this is super useful if you are coding focus groups and you need to have the data coded based on who is talking, who is speaking. But we will not be doing that today because I don't have any focus groups in this project. It's just simple interviews with individuals. So what I would do is that I would import transcript with timestamps or without timestamps. Timestamps are important depending on whether you are also coding, and it's important for you what was said when. For me, that is usually not very important, so I usually import transcripts without timestamps. And if I open this, it would just simply really open up my documents and the computer, and I will just simply import Word documents or PDFs. So this is how I import the document. What I also need to do, because what I do in qualitative analysis is that I usually have a number of, I have different types of data, For example, here I did 22 interviews with people coming from different backgrounds, and I can structure my documents into these document groups based on specific criteria. So for example, I did 5 interviews. Sorry, no, this is a double. So I can delete this. So I did 4 interviews with people from NGOs, but then I have different companies. So I did 2 interviews in a communications company. I tried to anonymize the company names. It was not really possible, but I decided to put them in these document groups. So these are individual interviews with individual people that I did, and you can do that as well. You can have all the documents simply here, or you can put them into document groups. So that is also very useful because you can then analyze the data based on, the group affiliation, or I just can analyze the data. I can analyze the data simply for people coming from a specific company. So this is just to help me organize my data. But of course, I will need to code. So I need to create a coding structure. If you do qualitative analysis, you know that sometimes we create codes initially based on the theory read. We just based on the knowledge that we have, we can already create specific codes. But oftentimes what happens in qualitative analysis is that specific themes, specific topics come up, and we just create the coding structure as it goes. So what I have here is I have a coding system where I have created these these mother codes. For example, organization of employee resource group works, agenda of ERGs making use of, impact of COVID-19, cooperations. And I have created these subcodes for each of these groups. What is important for me is also color coding, because then when I have specific colors for specific code groups, it's easier for me to spot them in the text, right? So I'll be just simply looking through the text, and I'll be looking for a specific color if I want to. It helps me to structure my brain around these codes better. So you can create a code simply by clicking this green dot. You type away the name of the code, you choose a picture, and you click OK. That is how you simply create a code, a mother code. And then if you want to create a subcode, I just go to cooperation here. And when I write a code here, I see that already it's color blue. I click OK, and it creates a new code for me. Okay, I don't really need this code, so I'm gonna delete it. What I love about MaxQDA is that whenever you are deleting, it asks you if you want to delete, because I am clumsy, you wouldn't believe. And I'm really worried about deleting data that I shouldn't be deleting. So I love that it just asks me, are you sure you want to do this? So that's a very useful tip. So how do we actually code? What I have here is a coding structure. I'm going to choose an interview that hasn't been coded yet. There's just simply one code here. So what you can simply do is, if you have a coding structure like this, you take the segment that you like. For example, in paragraph number 4, she was talking about specific topic of a crisis. And I'm going to simply, like this, take the segment that I like, and I can just drag and drop it like this. I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to put it here. Okay, it doesn't really belong there, but you see I dragged and dropped it, and immediately it has this code. Right, so that is a possible option if you have the coding structure already. Now I'm going to delete it. But there are other options. You can actually take the segment, right click, and you can click code it with a new code, for example. So I can click it and I can create a new code, for example. Or I can code it in vivo. In vivo means that it's going to be coded by a code which actually is the same. See, it's the same text. We just created a new code with the same text that is in the coded segment, right? So this is also an option, and these options you have actually anywhere. If you code it with in vivo or if you code with Atlas TI, this is the same. This is the same thing. You can drag and drop, or you can code like this. So this is super simple. What are other options that are just the basics of coding in MaxQDA? You can create memos. Memos are super important for, oh, I'm going to delete this code as well. I don't like it. Sorry. And you can anytime actually change the name. If you right click, you can change the color here. You can rename code, or you can delete codes. You can also, what happens to me is that I create a name for a code, and then with the second, third document, I change my mind. I want to call it differently. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to rename it. So that's also an option. Let's delete now. Memos are super important because when I'm starting to work on a project, I like to leave some tiny notes for myself on specific codes or on specific documents. As you see here, for example, we don't have any memos for codes, but when I'm starting a project with a colleague of mine and we are both working on the project and we haven't developed our coding structure well yet, we like to leave like tiny notes for each other on what this code actually means. So I would, for example, right click here on the code, click memo, and a new bar is going to open, and I'm going to say, hello, my friend, and I'm going to leave it for a colleague, and I can close it, and it immediately saves here. And when I double click on it, it opens, right? So if I want to have like notes about these codes, this helps as well. But I also leave notes in specific documents. For example, when there's a bit that I think I need to remember for the future, this is important, or I just want to leave a question for myself, I can do that. For example, I think I have that in a tech company, that I have a memo in the text note. Manufacturing company. No, where did I leave it? Anyway, what I can do is that I can take a specific segment, again, right click, insert memo or section, and again, I can write what I want, and it's going to be displayed here. So whenever I open the document, I can see the memos along with the codes, which can be very useful. If you want to have like a sticker, like this is important, or for some reason I want to remember something that I thought of. So the memos can be actually looked at here at the top. You have a memo bar, and you can actually look at all memos here. So what it does is that I have a individual window where I look at all the memos that I have. So for example, in this interview, apparently I left 4 memos. I hope I have no swear words here, because I'm sorry. It's just me working on this, and sometimes I leave like outrageous notes for myself. Sorry, but no, it's all fine. But you can look up all the information that you left here. You have different types of memos. You can have a code memo. So these are the codes that we would have here relating to code. Or you see, I have 16 codes that are somewhere in these documents that I left behind. So this is something that is quite useful. And one more thing, when it comes to coding, you can actually auto code. So here in, I think it's here. Oh no, it's in codes. Sorry. You see, this is what I was saying, that there's just so many options, and I am oftentimes looking into options and how I can do, I think it must be in codes, auto coding.
Take your time, don't worry.
Ooh.
You know, I wanted to mention that compared to this, Envivo looks hell.
Yeah, that's where I'm
I'm
working.
trained only in Envivo in Belgium, but I don't think I will switch. It
Feel
looks
free.
nice.
Feel free. I think I remembered it was an analysis, but it's just like a
you can come back to
tiny.
that. Don't worry.
Yeah, if I see it in the process, I'm gonna show you where
Of course.
auto coding is, but it must be something in analysis. Or oh no, it's here. Text search autocode. Right, here we are. I remembered well, it's an analysis. So let's just say that the problem with software like this is that it really doesn't do the work for you. It can only help you. So majority of the data you really have to code yourself. But it helps you, for example, if you want to autocode, meaning there is an expression that you can look up and it will help you with coding. So for example, one of the topics that I am looking for in this type of analysis is, in this project, is if these companies do pride, pride marches, LGBTQ pride marches. So I can actually look up if there is actually this word. So I wrote it down. Now I'm gonna go open. Oh, no. Sorry. Find whole words. Yeah, this should be it. So just give me a second. Text search and autocode. Yeah. Let's go with East meets West. This is run search. Here we are. So I'm looking for the specific expression. East meets West is a network that tends to be mentioned a lot. So I did auto run, and now it's showing me where in actual text, in which document East meets West it's mentioned. So I'm going to click, for example, at this one, and it just immediately opened up the document for me right here. You see, or this one. And it helps me to look at the text and then code it with whatever I want. So there is an auto code option, but it's just not going to do the work for you. It's just going to look up specific expression that you want, but it doesn't, you have to, specifically if you have the thematic analysis, you have to code the whole thing. It doesn't really help. Yeah, so this is just the basics of coding. This is what memos do. These are your options. What I want to do now is I'm going to switch to visualization. So here we'll be working primarily in the toolbar here, visual options. Max maps are super useful, but if you look up tutorials for how to do max maps, it takes like an hour or two to learn even this individual function. What I prefer for myself are specifically Code Matrix browser, Code Relations browser, and CodeMap, and reports and subcode statistics. And this is what I'm going to show you, what we are going to do. So Code Matrix browser is specific with we'll start with before we get into these visualizations, I'm going to show you one more tool that is available in the right here in the analysis section, and that is this QTT, questions, themes, and theories. This is a tool which allows you to save your visualizations, because oftentimes you come up with something, you create something, and then you don't remember, you forgot how you did it. And this is a tool which actually helps you to save your things for your project. And this is, if you're starting, usually click here, new worksheet. I already have a worksheet here. And the subject of my worksheet is support and opposition for the agenda in the company. This is what I'm interested in. interested in. And this is my research question, which is very lousy, but this is what really interests me. So what is the connection between the managerial support and lack of opposition in the company? These are the questions that I'm asking. What you can have here are imported segments, summary variables, but what I saved here are visualizations and statistics. And this is what I'm going to be showing you, how to do all these things. Just so you know, this is the QTT. We'll get to that, with how you can save your things in QTT. So this is one of the major things. And here we can go to visualization. The problem here is that, yeah, I can see it. Oh, no, here, visual tools. So we'll do Code Matrix Browser. What Code Matrix Browser does is that it allows you to see what appears in your documents, meaning for my case, what appears in my interviews. So for example, what I'm going to do here is that if you look into my coding system, let's start here. What I'm interested in is whether there is any connection between the support of the mother company of the ERD and limited experience with opposition in the company, right? So this is something that I want to see if there is any relation. So what I want to do is I want to see if there is any occurrence of these codes in my interviews, meaning if there are interviewees who, on one hand, speak about support of the mother company, but also say that there is no opposition to the diversity and inclusion agenda in the company. So this is what we are going to do. I have my notes here so that I can show you clearly how that works. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to activate some of the documents and some of the codes. I'm going to click here at this tiny dot. Now all of my documents are activated. You see they are all red. But I don't want to work with all my documents. I don't care about the NGOs. So I'm going to deactivate the NGOs, right? But I want to have a look at specific code. So I'm going to activate the mother brand support code. And I'm going to, you see, it opened up all the segments here in this window. I can see them all. But I'm going to also have a look at the limited experience with opposition. I'm going to click Code Matrix Browser. It will look at all my documents. You see not documents groups, but individual documents. And it will take only the activated codes. We have it right here. And I'm going to click OK. And what we see here is on the left, you can see my codes, those two activated codes. And here you can see all my interviews. Number one means that this code appears in the document, and this code also appears in the document. So what I can see already from my visualization is that for many of my interviewees, the brand support comes along with limited experience with any opposition, right? And this is what I work with. I can tell that there possibly may be a connection. This really helps me to see whether there is any relations. I can also click here. This is a tool for interactive quote matrix. And if I open this up, I can see where these segments, what are the segments that actually interact, right? So I can see these are rows for individual documents, you know, I can all see them. And I can see the coded segments right here for these specific codes. So not only I see how it appears that they appear together in specific interviews, but I can see which segments are also included. I can play along with this board as well. If I click this, I see how many times, in Code Matrix Browser, it only shows me if these codes actually appear in these documents. When I click here, it's the QTT. It immediately saves my visualizations into QTT. So I don't have to worry that the moment I close MaxQDA and I want to come back and I want to do the same visualization, it will be lost for me, right? I will just simply save that, like in a folder. I can also take a screenshot. If I click this button here, it takes a screenshot, and I can open up Paint or any type of, or Microsoft Word, and it will create a screenshot for me, how it really looks. And I can also take this out into an Excel sheet. So this is super useful. Another way that Code Matrix Browser can actually help me is that I'm actually interested in seeing whether philanthropy, where do we have it? Whether actually giving money to NGOs is something that my interviewees talk about, because this is a super important topic. What are the activities that these activist groups actually do? And philanthropy is something that I'm actually interested in. So I'm going to activate this code, and I'm going to do, I'm not sure if I have deactivated all the other codes. I think, no, I haven't. I'm going to do it like this. 1, 2, and here we are. Philanthropy, and I'm going to do Code Matrix Browser for all the documents, only for activated codes, and I see which of my interviewees actually spoke about philanthropy. So of all my people, this I think it's number 13. So of 22 interviewees, 13 spoke of philanthropy. So, and I can again click here and open this code up, and it should, for some reason it's not open. Here, yeah, we have it here. So these were not talking about philanthropy, and I have all my coded segments here. So this is also something that allows me to see whether I have it there, whether I have in the data. And I take a screenshot, I can take an Excel sheet. So this is Code Matrix Browser is one of the simplest visualization tools that you can use that can actually help you with the analysis. You have a hunch that there may be something appearing in the data, and you can test it with this type of visualization. Code Relations Browser is the second one, is rather more complicated. In Code Relations Browser, I am looking at how codes interact, whether there are any connections, whether there are any trends. So what I would be, for example, interested in, again, I'm gonna activate all my codes except for NGOs. I'm only looking into what actual members of ERGs, actual people who work in companies said. And I'm looking into what I am wondering is whether I have a hunch that there may be a specific connection between religious or conservative opposition in these companies in relation to these groups actually organizing Pride-related events. I'm wondering whether my interviewees actually talk about this in relation to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Code Relations Browser, and here it's asking me, what do you want to have in your rows and what do you want to have in your columns? So what I want to have in my row is actually what I've said, this limited religious conservative employees opposition. So we have one code here. And you can have as many code as you want, right? I'm just showing you this example of one-on-one code. And then we have organizing Pride-related events. So I'm going to go click, and now it's going to ask me, so what type of analysis you want? And this is where it gets tricky. This is where you need to be sure, what do you want to know? Because it's going to ask me here, if I just want to know if these two codes occur in the same documents. This can be super important if you just have the type of analysis where you are looking at whether one person is talking about this and that during the same interview. But that's not enough for me in this type of analysis. I want to know whether they somehow talk about it in relation, whether when they talk about Pride-related events, they also talk about opposition. And I can choose the distance, how far these codes need to be away. I would say that for this type of discussion that we would have, I'm looking at whether they are close to each other within 2 paragraphs. So that is the type of analysis I'm looking at right now. If these two thoughts, if these two ideas are close to each other when people are talking. And here I have only activated documents, so I only have the company. So I'm gonna click OK. And this is what I get. I'm not sure, it's quite tiny. I hope you can see it. But what I have here is that I have organizing pride-related event, and here I have religious conservative employees opposition. So what I have here is that in 9 coded segments, these ideas, these codes, are actually pretty close to each other. This is super interesting to me. I think it somehow proves something. So apparently there are people who were talking about these two things in relation. So I'm going to click here, interactive quote matrix. And what I have here, if I click on this, is that I see all the segments where these ideas, all the text where these codes were that close to each other. You can actually have, there's display origin button here. So you can just simply have the text, but I have display origin here so that I can see which interview it is, right? Here I can tell that these two pieces happened during the same interview, right? So this is something that can be important to me. I'm going to show you how Code Relations Browser can actually help you. I have in my presentation an example of what we did with my colleague with this. So can you see a table? I hope you can see a table. Yeah. So this is a table from a study that we did with my colleague where we actually interviewed PhD students. And this is a table which actually is the result of the data of the code co-occurrence that I just showed you. And the reason why we use this table, because we thought that it shows really well that, and it was working with coded segments, that dealing with identity or inequality was for these PhD students connected to managing their own emotions. Or you have data here that discussions with students usually were related to dealing with identity or inequality. So you can actually create, looking back at this table, I don't think it's a good table, but it can help you to visualize qualitative data like this. It saves you space, and it allows you to show qualitative data and qualitative insights with colors and numbers. And I think that this can be quite useful. So I'm going back to my MaxQDA tool. Okay, what we have here, close this. So close this as well. And again, as I was saying, you can save this into the QTT. So I'm gonna have a look now into the QTT so that you can see how it looks when I'm consistently saving. So you see we have Code Matrix Browser, we have the table here. So, and you can write insights into this visualization that you here have as well. Again, Code Matrix Browser on philanthropy. This is again what we can save. And now we are going to have a look into how to do this code map. So again, we go to visualizations. Oh, this toolbar of Zoom annoys me so much. Okay, code map. So what I want to show now is that there are some topics that my interviewees were talking about that were connected, right? And one of my major questions for this study is how the management actually impacts the experiences of the company activists. So what I want to do is I have a couple of codes for that in my coding system. I have the mother brand support of the ERGs here, but I also have codes about opposition and struggles, and I have limited experience with opposition. I have religious conservative opposition or backlash. or opposition from HR management. So what I did here is I coded, I have now 104 coded segments because I chose 4 codes for this. I have activated them all, and now I'm going to create a code map. So I want to show people how in my coding structure these look. But I'm gonna, because I have now codes activated and I have documents activated, I'm going to click here and insert activated codes. And I have all of my codes here. And again, it's gonna ask me, so what type of analysis you want? Do you want intersection of codes in a segment? Do you want occurrence in the same document? Or do you want a proximity? I may test this. For me, I'm not really sure what's going to come out of any of these types of analyses. First, I'm going to do occurrence of codes in the same document, and I'm going to click OK. And it looks pretty weird, but there are things that I can already show, right? So for example, yeah. So for example, because there are some options here that I can click, I don't like this. I'm not sure how to call this in English. I don't like this. So this allows me to see it better. What I have here are these specific codes. I can change the visualization of the code, you know, depending on how strong the codes are, you can actually have these dots big or small. But what I have here, what is important are these relations, and this is the button of show relations and lines. So I'm gonna, now it's not activated. Click on it, and now it's gonna ask me if I want to see lines with frequencies, and you know, what is the minimum frequency? How many coded segments do I want to see? So if there at least are 2 coded segments, it will show. But I really want to see the frequencies, so I'm gonna click OK. And now it shows me that there is certain connections, there's certain connection between the mother brand support and limited experience with opposition. So I can see that those who were talking about limited opposition were also talking about how their mother, their brand supports them in activity. And I can tell because I have 11 documents where these codes occur together. I hope that is the type of analysis I picked. I think so. Let's just pick again. Yeah, occurrence of codes in the same document. But I can, of course, choose proximity by paragraphs, right? And it's not much different. You see, I can still see that there is a very strong connection between these two. But then again, I can see that even though there is mother brand support, there is still religious opposition. So this visualization actually helps me to see and show the trends that even though for some there is mother brand support, there's still religious and conservative opposition of the company. So this is something that actually helps you to show those who will be reading your data how this can work. And again, I can click here QTT, or I can actually now try to copy this into clipboard. I'm gonna open Paint, and I'm not sure if you can see Paint, but I just copy pasted it into Paint. Can you see that?
Well, at least I can.
Yeah, that's what I want to show. So you can save this actually as a clipboard into any type of tool that can actually support your type of data. I'm going to show you again how this can look in an actual paper. Again, the same paper that we did with a colleague of mine. It's quite ugly. I'm very sorry, but you see, it's experience with supervisors, avoiding interference. What we wanted to show is that in the process of establishing a supervisor, establishing a thesis, what the type of code that occurred a lot was avoiding interference. So for our PhDs, what was the sign of their success was when their PhD supervisor was not interfering into their work. which I think is pretty sad if that is the best benefit your supervisor can provide to you, that they are not interfering with your choices. That was one of the topics that we were developing in the study. So this is again an example of how you can visualize your data, qualitative data in a paper. So that is here we are. So that is a code map, something that you can do. What I can also show you is word cloud, but unfortunately I haven't used word cloud much because I primarily work in Slovak. And word clouds usually work in languages where we do not have to change the words much, like English. But for languages where the word changes in different tenses, this is rather problematic. It doesn't really help you. But I'm going to show you anyway. One day this may be useful to you as well. If you want to show the intensity, the frequency of specific words, this is something that Atlas has and InVivo has as well. So what we have here is we can insert activated elements. And activated elements are actually all my documents. But you know what? I can choose not to have all the documents. I'm simply going to go for the NGO. So I'm going to activate my NGO, click here, word cloud. No, clear list, insert activated elements. Yes, I have them here. I'm going to click OK. And it is going to show me a word cloud of the most frequent words that I have here. Unfortunately, as I said, these are words such as to, yes, no, or this, that. That doesn't really help me. But the options are, you can actually choose from Bulgarian here, which I think is pretty cool, and Czech. We don't have Slovak here, unfortunately, but you can actually tell the system what sort of language you're speaking. And here in word frequencies, you can actually tell him what sort of words you want there and you don't want. So for example, if I click here, it's going to take out all the to, those, are, about, those. It's just not going to take them into account. And here you see that I still in this type of analysis, I'm taking into consideration 1100 different words. And here I can choose what is the minimum frequency. And I can basically create this sort of image of what are the most common words in my document. So this can be useful if you are working in English, for example, can be rather useful. So that would be, again, one type of visualization that you can use. And what is also super helpful for me is subcode statistics. So this is another type of visualization that you can do. I'm going to show you with regards to motivation. So here I have a mother code, which is called personal motivation for joining or working in ERG. What I'm really interested in is why these people do this, why they do volunteering work for their company. That is the question. And based on the theory, based on what I've read, there were some expectations that I've had. So for example, social justice values was something that I was expecting to appear. And I was also expecting to appear them actually being an LGBTQ person. I definitely wasn't expecting that they would want to educate themselves on LGBTQ issues, but here we have it. If I click on the code, you see I can actually right click on the code. And here I can click on individual segments. And it's just immediately going to show me the text that I have coded. So this is also super useful. I can look at the different segments. But I'm interested in this mother code. And I want to know, and I want to visualize how often, I want to visualize what are the motivations of my speakers. So here again, I'm going to click on all my documents except for the NGO. I just want to have the company members here. I don't want to have these NGO people here. So it takes some time. And no, go away. And I'm going to right click on this personal motivation module code. And here I have subcode statistics. And this is what I want. This is my favorite function. So I'm going to click on subcode statistics. And now again, it asks me what I want to analyze. And if I click coded segments, it's going to show me relative percentage of how common it is within all the segments that this code appeared. That's not what I want to do, because I have some people where I coded one motivation twice because it appeared twice during our interview at different times. No, what I want to have is I want to see in which documents which code appeared, because if I have this code in the document, it means that it's this person's motivation, right? Some people can have only one, but there are people who have 3 of these types of motivation. So I want to see the documents. I want to see how relatively strong these motivations are for individual people in these. Here I have a wonderful table where I have them all, and I can tell that doing something more than mundane work appeared in 10 documents, meaning 10 people told me that they do it because they are bored at work, just to simply put it. And this is a wonderful table, but you can actually have a graph. Here we are going to look at this button, which will actually help us visualize the data. And this is a wonderful, wonderful image of the motivations that we have here. So here, as I expected, social justice values appeared when talking to 14 people. 14 people said that they are doing this because they feel very strongly about this issue, blah, 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 as expected. I was also expecting this to appear, but definitely not expecting professional growth to be that strong. That 10 people said that it brings them professional benefits to be volunteers. And 10 people, for example, said that socializing a network is important to them. So this is a wonderful image of the different types of motivations that appeared in my text. And this is just ready to be put in my study. It's because I don't have to talk about this. I'm just going to show this graph. Here, reviewer 1, reviewer 2, you see, this is the data. So I absolutely love this subcode statistics visualization tool. It really helps. So this is one of the things that you can have. And one more thing, because you may be wondering at this point that this is amazing. I can look at all my coded segments here, but what if I want to do the conventional qualitative analysis visualization? And that is simply to use quotes. I do that. I still do that in my qualitative studies, that if I want to show that a specific trend or a specific topic is appearing in the text, and I want to show my readers how this appears in the text, how my interviewees talk about it, I just simply use a simple quote. And if you want, there's a variety of ways that you can have these in your, we'll have to do it like this. So you click reports. This is the easiest way to do it. So I'm clicking report. And there's a variety of ways that I can actually report. I'm going to make sure that none of these things are activated, because that's going to cause trouble for me. So none of it is activated. And I'm going to click here, Smart Publisher. And it's going to ask me, so, okay, which codes do you want to see? And for me, I'm currently writing on the topic of motivation. So I'm going to click here, matter code, personal motivation, or sometimes it's not that intuitive. So I'm just going to be sure. I'm just going to make sure that all the codes are there. And ignore codes without coded segments. Yep, that's okay. Only for activated documents. All my documents, I want to have all my documents, and I'm going to click next. Here, I usually avoid this. I don't really care about this. At one point, I called it master document, but you can call it motivations, right? Now it's going to ask me what I want to have. This is the type of data that I usually want to have, hoping that it will be all there. And it's going to create a Microsoft Word. And let's just have a look if it looks the way we wanted it. Mm-hmm. Okay, and here we have a document of all the coded segments coded by motivation. So for example, I'm looking at all the codes doing something more than mundane work, and I have them all here, and I have all the data for them. I even have the percentage of how frequent they are in relation towards each other. So you just can simply use these quotations within your qualitative study. But you may be also wondering, okay, so what if I do not want to look at it like this, but I want to print all my documents with coded segments? So here, for example, we can do that as well. So I'm going to click at my tech company. So you see I have a document that has been completely coded, 60 codes. And I want to see, I just want to have a paper. I want to look at my document, my interview, and I want to see all the coded segments. So I'm going to go here. This is the panel for this specific document. So I can simply export displayed document. And it's going to ask me if I want to have it in a PDF and display coded segments. So I'm going to click OK. Again, it has a PDF, and we're going to have a look if it works. Tech company, interview 1. And here we see the whole document with the coded segments. So if you want to have it like this, read on a holiday, read on a train through your own analysis, you can do that as well. So that's a specific thing you can do here as well. And yeah, that would be basically it from all the types of visualizations that I prefer to do. But just before we open this to the last round of questions, I'm just going to show you that there's other multiple options that you can be using here. So for example, there's a bar for quantitative analysis. So if you want to do, if you're working with much more interviews or texts or images than I am, you may want to use actual variables, and you may want to compare variables and their co-occurrence. So here you have options for that as well. As I said, I'm still learning on how to work with variables because usually I don't work with that great amount of data. But I have a colleague who recently did a study using 55 interviews. Sorry? Stefan?
I'm sorry, Al.
Yeah, you have your mic on. It's okay.
Yeah. I was just saying that I love listening to you, to be honest.
Thank you.
That you can speak.
No, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Don't worry. I'm just showing you some of the other options that you have here. And the best thing about MaxQDA is that if you want to do variables, the only thing, the best thing you can do is just go to YouTube, type in MaxQDA variables, and it's just going to come up with plenty of videos on how to create variables and how to do the analysis. So I think that's absolutely perfect. Here for mixed methods. In mixed methods, the best option here is side-by-side display, where it actually shows you, if you want to compare variables, it's just going to show you which segments are coded with two same variables. And you can look actually into the data, you can look into the text and see why the co-occurrence is happening. So that is super helpful. And what else do we have here? Yeah, the visual tools, the reports. There's also options for working in the dictionary. I mean, there's plenty of options that you can do with the text itself. One thing that I didn't show you is that you can actually still work with the transcripts. So there's this tiny button here. Which actually allows you to open it up as a Word editor. So sometimes I don't usually at this point transcribe my interviews because I don't have the time. I usually pay people to transcribe my interviews. and sometimes they make mistakes or they do not really understand the words. So there's still this option that you can click this, and I can still, like, edit the text, blah 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 blah. So there's this option as well. So that's pretty useful. And you can also, there's also the option of having a team cloud. But this is something that I haven't explored yet. One more thing that can be useful to you is that it helps you to count and help with the intercoder agreement. So when you're analyzing qualitative data, it is important that we still have the validity and reliability of our analytical approaches. I did have a project where it was me and another researcher, and we both coded the same documents, so that there's more reliability, that two individual researchers would code with the same code. So you can do this as well. It's in these latest versions of MaxQDA 2022 and 2023, it gets pretty complicated on how to do that. I'm not going to show you now because I don't have the options here. But again, there is another video which can help you because, for example, you have the option here that it's gonna compare two documents and see how much they are overlapping. And usually the literature on qualitative analysis, it says that if you have 90%, if you can agree, on the 90% of coded segments, that's good. That's valid and reliable enough. But there is this option, and you can look it up on YouTube as well. Yeah, and I think that's it. That's what I wanted to show you. And if you have any other questions, feel free. I'll try to answer if I can. Thank you.
Yes, please. The floor is yours. I was thinking that when we discussed it, you told me you are not so confident in that program. That's not true. And and I think really you should offer, do you have a course that teaches coding? Because I was thinking that we don't have anything like that offered at the academy. And I was thinking that you can easily teach that as a course.
I actually, this week I was teaching research ethics to our PhD students, and I didn't actually realize that I can offer this as a course to them as well. But now when you are saying it, I may in the future.
So we have a question from Sladana. Could MaxQDA be used in literature review?
Excellent question. Yes, I forgot to say this. Yeah. I don't usually do this because I am very chaotic in my lit reviews, and I do this very old style lit review. But I do have a colleague who uses MaxQDA. She works on her specific topic is sexual violence, and she works a lot with different literatures on sexual, violence, on the impacts on institutional responses, and the way she does it is that she uses MaxQDA for keywords, So what she would do is that she would create a MaxQDA project, individual project, which she would call, for example, sexual violence on children. And she would put all these studies, into just as documents. And as she would be reading through them in MaxQDA, she would actually code those studies with specific keywords or with specific topics. So for example, if, at some point she would be writing about the impact of sexual violence on children, she would just simply look up impact as a code, and she would see those coded segments, coded documents, where actually she can find the topic in those studies. And I think it's pretty genius. But I don't really use it because I'm very old school. But you can perfectly use this for like lit review and for organizing the studies and the documents that you read. Thanks a lot for that question. Yeah.
Veronika, can you mention a bit about the pricing?
Yeah. We can go directly to the web page of pricing. So this is the MaxQDA pricing, and as you can see, when you click here, it immediately asks you what is your affiliation, what is your background, and I think this is a good thing because they recognize that students do not have that many resources, or they have different pricing for nonprofits as well. So for example, let's go to students. If you're a student, if you're even a PhD student, you get much better prices and much better options. So, but for this, keep in mind that you will need to submit a valid ID document or a certificate to them as a proof that you really are a student. What it really does, it usually asks you if you want to have the standard version or you want to have Analytics Pro. The difference is that Analytics Pro has got statistical data analysis stats. I don't do that. I don't use that. So the version that you saw was the simple MaxQDA version. And here you can see that depending on whether you want a 6-month or a 1-year version, the prices tend to differ. And I think these are pretty good prices compared to Atlas TI, compared to InVivo. And it can really, like, if you're doing your PhD, you don't really need MaxQDA for 5 years. You can, you only need 24 months for 2 years. And I think that's quite okay as well. But for us, in academia, there's other options as well. And we would go to academia. There are other options as well. And for me, I would go for single user license. I once made the mistake of ordering a network license because there were 3 of us colleagues who wanted to work with MaxQDA. The problem is that you need to have your computers networked if you want to use this, right? There needs to be a connection between these computers, which doesn't usually happen. Like, I have my own computer, it's not networked to others. I mean, I don't have a table computer that would be connected to my other colleague's table computer. And this didn't really work. So my recommendation to you is, if you can, preferably go for single user license, because this can be very problematic. You need to be connected to the same server if you want to have a network license. Individual users are better. AI Assist is pretty useful. You can also look this up on YouTube, how AI Assist can actually help you with your analysis. There's a short video which actually shows you how artificial intelligence can actually enhance the tools that we were talking about. Cloud, I don't really need a cloud, so I'm going to go with no. And I forgot to show that this is for annual subscription. So if I only want a subscription for 1 year, it's going to cost me 220 euros. But if you have a grant and you can afford to buy licenses from your grant, go for 5-year license. Again, single user for 5 years, that's 700. I know it seems a lot of money, but compared to InVivo and Atlas TI, I think it's pretty reasonable.
It can get, with MVivo, it can get up to 1,000 for 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
It's quite expensive.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really nice alternative, yeah.
Definitely single use, and definitely for as many years as you can do.
I agree. And I think our PhD students, for example, they have it's funny that at the academy, PhD students have research costs, but we don't have. So they can afford definitely to get it for 1 or 2 years easily. That shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. There's one more thing that I forgot to mention, that what I was showing you was MaxQDA 2022. Every year they upgrade to a new version. The reason why I'm sticking with 2022 is that I am sick and tired of upgrades. They don't usually do much. The reason why they do it is that if you have a 1-year license, it switches you off.
Yeah.
And then you cannot work with it anymore. But they do upgrade every year. So this one's 2022. Most likely when you'll be buying your license, it will be already 2024. So keep that in mind, that also the interface can be a bit different from what I was showing you. There may be a change.
Yeah. Reasonable. All right, anyone else? I think that was very clear. I mean, and you can really do that. For example, if someone wants to code a project, then you can go step by step, and you should definitely propose it as a course of yours.
I will think about it. I didn't think about it before because I honestly think that my knowledge of MaxQDA is very basic. But then again, when you are starting, I mean, I hope that at least it showed you the basics of what it can do. And I hope to meet all of you one day, and then you will tell me about how you became MaxQDA experts.
Right, right. We don't have any other questions on the chat board, and I'm sure that. But like, if you have any questions, we can discuss it with you. I guess, and they have videos available, which is very generous. They usually, like in Vivo provides courses where you need to pay again to attend these courses to see how it works.
I can tell you that I actually paid for an online summer school, which took 5 days for 150 euros.
That must have been the European Consortium Political Research.
Yes. Yeah. Did you attend that too?
I know, I wanted, but it was too expensive. We didn't have a budget.
Well, it was a gift. I asked for that as a birthday present.
Okay, I see. What kind of birthday presents academics want? Well, we understand here, I'm sure of that. Some people left, they apologize. And if you don't have questions, we're gonna leave Veronika alone now.
Yep.
I know how
Thank you so much for
overwhelming this
attending.
all is. And thank you really for and then you're gonna decide whether we can upload it. It depends.
You can actually, it wasn't such a disaster. I'll be happy if you, yeah.
Many people wrote me that they wouldn't be able, but they want to know about it. And I think it was brilliant, Veronika.
Thank you. Feel free to upload it. I'm happy if it helps anything. And and now you owe me something, so I will ask you to,
of course,
to speak on our platform.
Anything.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you,
Thank you, Veronika, and have a good night, you all, and see you soon, I hope. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.